So special guest Dane, we have to promise that we're not too funny tonight for this podcast.
You already did it.
Sorry, Josh. So Josh, how you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm good. I broke some ribs racing my son on a 29-inch BMX bike.
It was on the new BMX bike?
It was on the Colt. Yep. And
I didn't
Colt
realize.
Devotion out in front of the house. And it was so funny because Dane and I were just talking about riding with our kids and like helping our young kids get into it. And so it was Sunday morning and Mom was at the clinic with Homegrown. Shout out to Tara and those guys at Homegrown up at the 50-year trail.
Nice.
And I'm like, Maddie, you want to go for a ride with, your uncle and your cousins? He's like, yeah, let's go. So we go out for a mountain bike ride and we went out to the Vortex across whatever. And he's climbing up the hill and he's standing the whole way. And I'm like, dude, you got to sit down. You're going to burn your legs out. And he's like, no, Dad, I'm faster than you. I'm like, all right, whatever. So he climbs to the top. By the time we get to the top, he's burned his legs out. He's like, I can't go any farther. So I'm like, all right, let's ride back. So we ride back to the house and I'm like, hey, you want to grab our BMX bikes and keep riding? So we can get it, it's a little bit more, trying to get a little bit more miles in or whatever.
Yeah.
So we grab our BMX bikes and we're just riding through the neighborhood and we start racing.
Oh boy.
And when I pulled the bike off the rack, I could feel that the back tire was a little loose and the chain wasn't, it's a single speed.
Yeah.
Sliding dropouts. And I could feel that the chain was loose. And I knew it was like, okay, I should like stop and, tighten this chain up. But no, I didn't. And so we went out and we were riding around for a while and then we just started racing and I was full in sprint.
Yep.
And it popped.
And that chain popped off. I thought I broke the crank arm off. I went from full on sprint, straight up in the air, standing up, pedaling to right chest
Hurts
pavement.
so bad.
Oh God, chest to pavement. And I'm like, oh, this is Maddie's like, Dad, are you okay? And he's like, helps me, like carries my bike back to the house. And
That's a terrible crash.
yeah. So if you hear a girlish whimper, or not a girlish whimper, if you just hear a whimper,
There you go.
It's me.
Yep.
And I'm going to keep my hand close to the mute button today. So if I laugh, that's why.
The whimpers.
But hey, a question for you. If I'm a bodybuilder and I'm a mountain biker, what is my favorite piece of mountain bike gear? I'm a bodybuilder and a mountain biker. What's my favorite piece of mountain bike gear? No, the pump.
Oh.
Don't laugh, Josh, but that's a good one. We got special guest Dane, and Dane, you came prepared with what'd you call it? The stupidest joke?
Stupidest joke. I've been telling this joke my whole life.
Oh wow,
Nice.
this is an OG.
When I was 5, my parents took me to a circus in Wisconsin, where I'm from.
Baraboo.
Where are you from? Wisconsin?
Yeah, I was born in Madison.
I'm from Wisconsin. Well,
Hang on.
I
2
know.
episodes ago.
I have cheese.
Wait a
Just so
minute.
you know,
You-
in the van, right
Wisconsin
now.
brick cheese?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's Wisconsin brick cheese. I have to have family fly it out.
Yeah.
because you
Oh,
can't find it
wow.
out here.
Our
It's the best cheese. It is. It's amazing.
Oh, Jesus Christ, this is going to be hard.
Easy. Our friend, he just came in for the 24-hour, and he brought specifically brick cheese for his Detroit-style pizza.
Oh yeah.
So I
yeah.
can
Can't get it.
I'm from Detroit, and we use Wisconsin brick cheese and Detroit-style pizza. He brought me three.
Awesome.
Anyways, yeah, it was episode 30. So we just published 31. So last week we published, believe it or not, Wisconsin's got a great bike scene.
Yo.
With Eric Ebenbach, which we call Easy, and we talked all about the Wisconsin bike scene. So you should check it out. And you can tell us if we're full of crap or not.
But I want to hear the cheesy joke.
Sorry, this is what we do, man.
This is a bad joke. It was
okay.
just in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
So no cheese in this joke. I'm sorry, guys.
That's-
So this joke, when I was around 5, I think, I said this joke in a circus. They asked for volunteers, and I won with this joke. But it is the stupidest joke. So
Okay.
Why did the chicken fall out of the tree?
Why did the chicken fall out of the tree?
I don't know.
Because he was dead. That's it. I never promised a good joke. That's just a stupid joke.
How old were you when you first told that joke?
I think it was 5.
Did you make that up? Like, was that
No,
fresh off the top of
I
your
heard
head, or
that
did you
from
hear it on like
someone.
Mr.
Yeah.
Rogers or something like
Yeah,
that? Like,
and I went in front of a whole like auditorium full of
right.
people at a circus.
What was their reaction?
Granted, it was a clown that was interviewing me for asking for the best joke, and I told him this joke, and I won.
And you got a number one.
Yeah, I just got a balloon animal out of it, but
hey, that's cool.
but it was.
What was the balloon animal? A
I mean,
chicken?
for 5, that was huge. You know?
Super huge.
Yeah,
So,
it is.
But yeah, that's my stupidest joke in the world. So,
Thanks for sharing.
yeah, there's this.
Very good.
Second stupidest joke is, why did the turtle fall out of the tree?
It was also dead?
No, he was stapled to the chicken. Told you, they're not good. They're just stupid. That's all.
Hey, Dane, who are you?
So my name's Dane Higgins. I've been doing bikes and bike stuff in Tucson forever. I can't even tell you. I can't tally the amount of years, because then it'll make me realize how old I am, which I don't.
We're probably older than you, I bet.
I don't know, but we don't talk about that.
We talk about our bike age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we said, like, what I said, my bike age is.
Yours is like over 20.
Well, yeah. Well, so no.
No, more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably 30. Something like that. But we had Quinn on last week from Stoke.
Oh, yes.
His bike age is like 4 or something.
Yeah, your bike age is older than he is.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. We're joking. He was 26, I think. And
Yeah.
he said, yeah, my bike age is older than you.
We'll go out in a group and ride around a city and jump off curbs and stuff. And you want to talk about a bike age? You know, we're like bike gang. You know, we just have the best time.
Urban assault ride.
and it's all people my age. You know, there's no like 20-year-olds. Yeah. I
They're
mean,
like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they're like, what do you go grow up? You know,
No, don't grow up.
No.
It's the only time that you can have fun, like as a kid still.
Oh, yeah. It keeps you young.
Yeah.
It does. And in fact, I think I love this sport because it keeps you young.
Yeah.
You know,
it.
you don't have to act. I had a real job. So a little history on me is I've been riding bikes my whole life. Just always loved it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was told I have to go to college and go to school and get a real job and do all those things. And I did that and just came back to bikes because it just keeps you young. It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
But that little bit of time after college when I was in a cubicle, I mean, I felt older than anything, you know, and as soon as I got back into bikes, man, I just feel better, you know, and it's probably one of the biggest reasons I'm still in the game. So,
if my boss is listening to this, listen close.
Oh God. It's a tough one because those cubicles need to happen, you know, but
Yeah.
But not for everybody.
not for everybody. And it was pretty tough, you know.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, man. I've always worried. So I build and fix guitars. I play guitars. I build bikes. I assemble bikes, fix them. I've always worried that if one of those hobbies becomes a profession, that I'm going to end up hating it. Did you ever get to that point where you hate
Not yet.
No?
Wow.
You've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah. So while I was going to college, I was also in golf. So I did golf for a long time. I ran $3 million stores in Tucson.
Okay.
And so I was pretty involved. I played a lot of golf. I still raced bikes on the weekends.
Right.
But
Like mountain bikes or?
Mountain bikes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I never rode.
Okay. Your clothes don't match your bike.
No. But the racing mountain biking, I didn't do that great either. But the golfers, you know, I worked for a couple stores, and it would be these retired guys that had tons of money when they finished working for an oil company or whatever, and they decided getting a golf store would be the best thing in the world, and they would get to golf all day long. And it never happened.
It's still a retail store, man.
Yeah, those guys worked so hard. They never got to golf. And that was a big fear. You know, I didn't want that to happen to me. I still don't ride as much as I'd like. But honestly, I've always been kind of a mechanic.
Yeah.
And so working on the bikes is just as fun as riding them. You know, I just really get a kick out of it, seeing how they work. I just love taking stuff apart. You know, I was that kid that took my mom's drill apart when I was 7, you know, to see what it looked like and couldn't get it back together. Oh, no. So I learned, you know. So I don't think I'm burnt out yet. It definitely happens. The bike industry is really, rough on bike people, and it has a lot of turnover. It's hard to get people to stick around.
Right.
It's not very career orientated because it's very low paying, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's passion based, and people do it because they love bikes.
Not because not for the money. You don't do it for the money.
Nobody's rolling around in Porsches unless they had family money or something.
Yeah.
It's really hard to make a living. And so they tend to come in while they're in college and then move out once they get a degree. And I did the same thing. You know, I had to get a real job. I actually interviewed at Specialized.
Okay.
I interviewed at Trek.
Okay.
Both jobs when I was going to finish, or when I finished college, I was excited to get. And the amount of money that was on the table was just scary.
So little.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, I was listening to another podcast on Pink Bike, and those guys talking about their cars, you know, and how they couldn't afford this. And we kind of put those people, you know, this almost like a celebrity on a pedestal, and think they have all this money and they're living the awesome life, but those guys are probably sleeping on couches.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Levy's in Tucson right now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
that's
and I've been trying to find him to see if I can get him on the podcast. And he's like a celebrity to me, but he's literally probably sleeping in someone's garage or someone's apartment in here. Like, bro, I got a better house. Come sleep with us, man. We can come on the podcast. It'll be great.
Yeah. So bike industry's been. It's double edged. It's so much fun. You go to work. You love going to work, you know, and, you know, I'll give you a little more history on me. So I have a bike shop in town now.
Yep.
We just opened Guru Bikes. We're not even 2 months old.
Right on.
So, it's been amazing. I've been doing bikes for, like I said, I can't keep track because then I'll have to remember how old I am. But over 20 years. I've been doing suspension since it came out.
Mountain bike suspension.
That's kind of your specialty, right? Your niche.
So I started Guru Suspension. You know, when I worked in the bike shops, I was always the guy who did the suspension.
Yeah,
you know. And after a certain point, I got tired of kind of being that draw for a shop and getting very little recognition.
Yeah.
And so I decided when I got out of the industry for a little bit, every one of my friends was like, I need my stuff work done, and you're the only guy. So I'm going to go to you.
Yeah.
And so I would do it out of my garage. In fact, this electrical engineering firm that I was working for, they were going to rent me space to actually have a space in there.
Just to work on the side to do your suspension.
Just to work on the side, yeah. So it was, you know, it's always been something that's been there. Mm-hmm. And then I have these people that want it, but the shops don't really recognize that, and they can't pay for it. And so Guru Suspension, which is my company, was started because of that.
Right.
And then the first bike shop I approached was Trek Bicycles of Tucson.
Yep.
And I went into Trek, and I actually went in to borrow a tool and for a friend who was working on his bike in my garage. And the owner, I'm talking to one of the mechanics, and the mechanic knows who I am. And, you know, not that I'm anything special, but he just knows me because I've been around forever.
But by the way, you are something special.
Oh, wow.
That's what we've been told by lots and lots of people. So
I think they're lying.
I appreciate your humble perspective, but keep going.
But I'm in here kind of trespassing in this workshop at Trek Bikes, and the owner comes by and kind of gives me a stink eye, like, who's this guy? And the other mechanic turns and he goes, "This is Dane." And he looks at me and he goes, "The Dane?" And I was like,
uh-oh. See, I told you were something special. Look at that.
And I'm like, well, yeah, that's me.
Yep.
And
I'm the only one I know.
And he actually offered me a job, and he goes, I'll pay you to be here 1 day a week, whatever it takes, you know?
Yeah.
And I was kind of hating the cubicle, and I ended up basically talking to my wife. We had a kid on the way, and I'm like, maybe I could make this work. You know, the cubicle wasn't fun. I wasn't the same person, you know? Mm-hmm. And every day at 4:59, I was like,
out.
Oh yeah. Like
out the door.
I mean, yeah, as soon as I could, you know?
Yeah.
And so I took the job, but I told the owner, I said, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to run the suspension side, and that's just going to be me. And I'll give you a percentage of what I make, and I do the suspension. That's all there is to it, because I'm tired of being in this environment when I build up everybody's business with doing this thing that nobody else wants to do, because it's hard, it's messy, it's expensive.
And it's very nuanced, right?
It is, yeah. And the knowledge base is deep. Yep. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this since it came out. So I know what, RockShox, Quadra 21R looks like on the inside. And nobody knows what that is, but I do. I know what an XC400, Marzocchi looks like on the inside. Right. I still know the oil levels, for those forks.
That's interesting.
But I told him, hey, we're going to do this. And that's where Guru came from. And so Guru worked symbiotically with that shop for years. And then I opened up another shop with a partner when we left there. And I was doing that for 9 years, and I kept growing and growing. And then I've been spreading out, and now I'm doing suspension for multiple shops as well as our own. And so that's Guru's suspension, and that's what most people know me. And that's how they know me. Now Guru's got its own building, and we've got our own shop now. So now we do suspension for multiple shops all over the country.
You'll keep doing that?
Yep. Yeah, wow. Keep doing that. In fact, the building needed to happen because the current workshop couldn't have multiple techs. So we now have enough room to expand, which I'm so excited about because my workload has been always off hours. So imagine working your 9-hour shift or 8-hour, whatever you work, and then going home, kissing your kids goodnight, and then working for another 2-3 hours, and then getting up early, taking them to school in the morning, working for another couple hours, and then going and doing 9 hours again. And that's my life for the last 10 years.
Wow.
So, oh, good Lord. And when are you supposed to ride?
Yeah. Which is why I don't get to ride. And I've got a dad bod, I totally admit it, but I still get to go shred a little bit. I race some downhill bikes, and I love to jump off stuff once in a while if I don't get hurt. And I love to go fast. Adrenaline is the one drug that I'm hooked on. That's for sure.
So you're more of a downhill guy.
Yeah. So I've been racing downhill since 91.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh. So I like to say that I'm the current reigning state champion of Arizona. So I don't remember what class or age group. That's how long ago that was.
Oh, wow.
But the only series that Arizona had was at Sunrise, and I raced the last one and took first place. So, since they haven't had another one,
we haven't had another downhill. You're the reigning champ.
So,
a decade long.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, we do a gravity series in Nevada called DVO Gravity Series at Bootleg Canyon. Downhill Mike puts it on. He's amazing. Does a great job. And it's fun terrain. It's stupid, scary. It is. We call it a cheese grater. If you guys have ridden Star Pass. So imagine that rockiness, but straight down.
Oh wow.
And it's lots of consequences, but that gets the adrenaline going, and that's what I love. So it's really fun. We take a big team. We've got quite a few members of the team, and we'll go there and just have a blast. It's just so much fun. Nobody cares about winning. We just want to go hang out. And then we end up being, and we end up doing well, which is great. So, because Arizona riding is some of the hardest riding in the country. So you ride around here and you're going to be pretty decent anywhere. So, except for mud and roots.
Did you know that? Did you realize that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've ridden in California, and there's some cool stuff there, but it's pretty smooth compared to what we have.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are doing drops, and they're doing steep stuff, and there's some bushes, but here, when you do a drop, there's jagged rocks where you're landing.
It's
very
not,
true.
Not a
Chunky,
nice, smooth landing, right?
And or cactus.
Yeah, you can't fall into a bush or a tree here, or you're going to get really hurt. It's just lots of consequences. And when we were racing the Norba circuit, that's how old I am. If you know Norba, then you know how old I am. And the Norba circuit, we would go all over the country. And the only thing that tripped the Arizona guys out was roots and mud. Yeah. And we had to practice that. But, man, we would do pretty well. So it was that team was called No Brakes. That was the old junior development team we used to have a long time ago. So
congratulations on moving over to the shop.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I can see on the Facebook the countdown, the excitement to build to that. So it's really cool.
Tell us a little bit more. Like, where's it at? How can people find you? How can they get a hold of you? That kind of stuff.
So Facebook, we're all over the place. We have Guru Bikes on Facebook. We have Guru Suspension on Facebook. The shop is at 2634 North First Avenue.
Kind of north central.
It's between. It's on First between Grant and Glen. So Midtown, honestly. That's been a lot of the feedback has been really positive because the old shop was up on the Northwest and we had a lot of East Side riders who wanted.
Yeah, you can't. It's too long.
It's a long ways, you know, and so it's been pretty positive. I know there's a lot of people in Oro Valley that are bummed because we're a little farther away.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
Tell them to drop it off on the way to work.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, the city's so spread out; it's really hard to pick the right spot. But you mentioned that you were working on suspension at the shop for people around the country.
Yes.
How does that work?
So people still ship it into me. We haven't gone national as far as advertising, but word of mouth. So I have riders that'll be snowbirds. They'll go back home and they can't get their suspension worked on. And so they'll send it to me. But then they'll tell their local shops. And so I have a customer who talked to his shop in Pennsylvania and he's trying to get him set up with me so that he can get it done. Our turnaround's pretty fast. And I don't know. There's nothing wrong with Fox. There's nothing wrong with Shox sending your stuff to them.
Yeah.
Their workloads are pretty big and their times are usually 3 to 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
You know, depending on who it is.
People on bikes don't like those time frames.
No.
That's why we have to have more than one bike, Mike, so we can have one bike down. And
right.
And their turns are really slow when we're in season because that's off season. So in the winter, you know, half the country is sending their suspension because they're not using it. That's when they pick to do it. And so anybody who wants something done who's riding in the winter, it gets these horrible wait times and it's frustrating. Yeah. And I'm not going to say that I'll always be as fast, but we're usually 3-4 days turnaround. And so we also stock a ton of everything in stock. So during COVID, we were one of the only service centers that actually were operating pretty normally. You know,
because you had the good stock.
So we had stuff. Yeah.
Are you doing custom tunes as well on these things?
I do. I have to tell you that custom tunes, when I started this, I talked to all my friends in suspension. Cause again, been doing suspension since it came out. So I get to know all the guys at all the companies and we hang out. I just got a text from DVO, one of the head service guy at DVO who does pretty much global service for them. His name's Ronnie. He's awesome. And, he, you know, when I talked to these guys, I said, hey, I'm going to do this. You know, they all knew me. And so they gave me some great advice and they said, don't do custom tunes. So now keep in mind, DVO really pushes custom tunes.
Right.
But what they were suggesting is that be careful because when you custom tune for somebody, it's hard to interpret what they want, what they think they want, and what you can actually do for them.
Right.
And that's really been difficult. And so we do have some kind of scientific stuff where we take a guy's weight and height and we can use that to kind of figure out the tune.
Yeah.
But then somebody may come in and he's average. He should be within the tune that's in the stock suspension.
Yeah.
And he wants to change it. And sometimes it's tough getting what they want out or they can't articulate it.
Probably more the latter.
It's very difficult. And then, you know, if I don't know this person, they may get upset because it's not what they thought it would be, even though mechanically and
you did exactly what they said. And so then you get a bad rap for just a poor communication situation.
And their advice was be leery of that. And I respect that advice because it was good advice. Yeah. And so the custom tunings I've done, you know, it's been really good because I pick and choose. You know, it's not something I offer. It's not something I push. But if somebody says, hey, I'm having a problem with this, and I interview them and I get that info from them that really makes a difference, either their size or the way they ride.
Yeah.
I have a story about a guy in Tucson who's awesome. His name's Johnny. He's a great guy. We're on a trail ride together and I'm just playing with his bike while we're waiting for people to catch up. We were at the 24 and, his rear shock's blown. I'm like pushing it down and it just pops back up. And I'm like, your rear shock is blown. You need to get this fixed. He's like, oh, really? I didn't even know.
Jeez.
Which happens more than you think. And I'm like, you need to bring that in. We need to get that fixed. And so I got it into the shop, older, pull it apart, clean it up, get it all rebuilt, put it back together. It's beautiful. I put it on a dyno, check it. It feels great. The lockout's working again. The rebound actually works this time. It's great.
For our listeners, can you explain what a dyno is?
Oh, so there's different dynos. The one that I have is a hand dyno, and basically it simulates the suspension compressing the shock.
Okay.
Because you can't
So it's like a piece of test equipment that actually compresses the shock while it's not in a bike, so you can test.
Yeah, so we can feel what the valves are doing. If there's oil in it, we usually take a baseline dyno at the beginning, and then afterwards to make sure that we're making a difference.
Is it a mechanical tool, or obviously it's mechanical? But are there telemetry built into that as well?
No, I would love to do that, and that's the next evolution. But that's usually for doing a lot of custom tunes and really. So you'll see those at the manufacturer's level more than you tend to see like digital dynos at the service center.
Okay,
we're making sure the stuff works. They're designing the stuff, and so they have to see this digital readout of the curve and how the suspension's moving, and seeing if those shim stack changes that they're making are actually doing something.
Right.
So
the company that I work for is a major engineering firm, so I'm used to like seeing all that whiz bang stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's awesome. I've been to a couple R&D facilities, and it's really cool to see them put those like the torture machines on these shocks, and just seeing their cycling and just moving up and down. And they can program them to be erratic, so they're not rhythmic. It's just really cool. So
speaking of those stories, don't mean to cut you off, Dane.
Sure.
But so there's a YouTuber, Dusty Betty.
Yes.
Okay, so she was at, is it Intrabike?
Yeah.
If I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
And she asked, she said she's a smaller stature rider, and she wasn't using the whole full shock to its potential.
Intrabike or Interbike?
Interbike.
Sorry, Interbike.
Interbike.
Thank you.
In Vegas, they don't do it anymore.
Doesn't exist, so nobody cares.
Unfortunately, it's gone. Some of my best days. Interbike.
I do miss it.
So do I, man. Yeah. Bring it back. Come on.
Right? Yeah.
So she was at one of the, I think it was like the Fox booth, whatever, and she said, "Hey, what can I do to my shock? I'm not using the whole thing. I can never really use it. And I've played with the air pressures and all that." And they said. And she said someone recommended taking out the spacers or the tokens, the volume reducers.
Yeah.
And they said, I wouldn't do that. So then she was rolling through town in Tucson, and she talked to some friends, and they said, you got to go see Guru Suspension. So he'll take care of you. So she gave you a big shout out. This was 5 years ago on the YouTube. Yeah. And she said she hit the 50-year trail to kind of test it. And she said it made a big difference for her ride in times.
That's awesome. It's one of the simplest things you can do too. Is moving volume spacers. They're designed really for the user to be able to do those things, but nobody understands what they're doing. I don't want to say it's complicated, but I have to remember that I've been doing this for so long. So things that seem simple to me are very hard to get your head wrapped around and what they're actually doing. And volume spacers is tricky. There's so much info on the internet. You can get so many good guides. There's all kinds of things. Sometimes it's just playing with it. So
can you give us like I have so many questions for you, bro.
So do I.
I don't know where to take this. I don't know what the right thing. Okay. Before we get deep into suspension, like nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
We'll put a link to Dusty Betty's YouTube video.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In the show notes here.
I want to go
and
look
also
it up.
You can go to we'll send it to you when we send you the show notes. You'll get it there. And also to your website, which I know is kind of still going in your Facebook and
my website's awful.
Yes, it just says under construction.
The guy who does it is awesome.
Yeah.
But he has to wait for me to do stuff.
You're too busy fixing stuff.
And I'll tell you what, I'll make your suspension work great, but I'm not the best with the web page.
Right on.
Sorry about that. I picked the lesser of two evil, I guess.
Yeah. So if we have anyone out there that wants to donate some free time to help Dane with his website,
right on.
Let us get a hold of us and we'll help you out, bro.
I do trade out.
Yeah, you trade some suspension work for web work.
Right.
You want to dive into something before we geeked out?
Yeah, before we geek out on the suspension, we always ask about nicknames.
Oh,
yes,
of course.
We kind of heard Go See the Guru, and I think that's probably one of your nicknames.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
It's I think it's a cool story because it actually was kind of a sarcastic insult when it started. And so I was,
those are the best nicknames.
Yes, they are.
It was somebody is a guy that I think is great. His name's Justin. He was a great guy, worked at a shop with me, called Fair Wheel Bikes.
Fair Wheel.
And, I was a service manager for 5 years at least at Fair Wheel.
Yeah.
And, so I ran the back of Fair Wheel, in its heyday when it was really, as a shop, it was really just on the top. We were going to, to Interbike.
Yeah, I went to Interbike, and there's no shops there.
No,
and
you don't see bike shops there.
It's just manufacturers for the most part. And I come around the corner, and there's Fairwheel Bikes, a bike shop. I'm like, what the hell? And electronic shifting had just come out. And they had taken, it was for road bikes, and they had taken the electronic shifting, taken it apart, and like reconfigured it and put it on a mountain bike. And they had, that was like their kind of thing for the show.
Yeah.
It's like, how the hell these guys get a.
So most of that is driven by Jason at Fairwheel. He's awesome. He's one of the people that I wish I could still work with. Like one of my favorite coworkers of all times. Great guy. And he runs their internet division. They just love to do chi-chi, like super high end, like lightweight, just awesome exotic stuff. And I love that too. I'm a gram counter. I shouldn't be for the size that I am.
Me neither.
Yeah,
just don't eat a cheeseburger, Jack.
But I love to figure out how to make, exotic, cool stuff. And on the bike shop side, that's one of my favorite things to do. Custom bikes is so much fun. Just make that bike perfect for the guy. Yeah. But at Fairwheel, I was working, and I was a service manager, and I was the mountain bike guy. That's what Fairwheel was pretty road orientated, and the owner of the shop was a big time roadie. Started the Shootout in Tucson. Ralph.
We talked about the Shootout here.
And so he, that was the drive of the shop. They were really into road, and I came on board as this mountain kind of dirty, lazy guy who rolls downhill, because that's what downhillers do. And I was working there forever, and the sales guys just would get inundated with questions about mountain bikes. And they just wouldn't know, customer would come in, it was when the internet was going on and people were looking stuff up, and a salesperson would get just basically waylaid by a customer knowing more than they do. And that's frustrating.
I can imagine.
But you can read so much, and find out so much. And they would always come back to me and say, hey, you need to talk to Dane. Or they'd call me out onto the floor to help them sell bikes and stuff. And because I was a service manager, I wasn't out on the floor. I was in the back. And it was a joke at some point where this Justin guy would be like, oh, you got to see the guru, oh, Dane's the guru, the mountain
bike guru.
Yeah. And it was his way of ribbing me, which we did a lot of, and it was so much fun.
All in good fun.
Yeah, it really was. If you weren't being made fun of, then there was something wrong.
Then you knew that there was a problem.
Exactly. And so here's this guy just like, oh, he's the guru. You got to see the guru, and he's the one that came up with it. And it was funny because I remember when it actually just stuck in my brain that I kind of liked it. There was a new program that Lizard Skins was doing, and they make grips. Yeah. And they were doing laser etching on the little lock-ons.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Like custom, like your name or whatever.
Yeah. And they called up the shop. I didn't know. And they said, hey, we're going to do these custom ones. Who's your mountain biker? And then everybody said, oh, it's Dane, Yeah. And so then they said, okay, well, what should we put on there? Dane? And they're like, no,
the guru.
Put the mountain guru. And so then these come in and they show up on my desk one day. And I'm like, the mountain guru. And I'm like, I still have those. They're on one of my bikes.
Oh, that's awesome.
They move from bike to bike. So, but that's where it started. And so it's funny because it started off as a way to kind of poke fun at me. And it became what people knew me as, and I just kind of embraced it. It made sense. So
it's a great story.
It is a good story. It's like when I call you Jesus and you keep saying you're not Jesus. And I actually think like he was actually the guru. I actually think you're Jesus. So
no. Okay, can I start diving in?
Go into the deep dives.
All right.
Suspension nerdiness.
Okay, episode 8, we got Notorious Chad, who's brother-in-law. Okay, and Uncle Dick. Okay, who's another brother-in-law. Anyways, Uncle Dick talks about the evolution, like where have mountain bikes kind of gone that made them better. Right, for the rider. Okay, one of the things, and dirt bikes. He's a dirt bike guy. Yeah, and I remember him saying that the innovations that have made the biggest difference is in the suspension. Okay, maybe.
So we, in that episode we were talking a lot about trickle down from tech trickle down from like motocross down into mountain bikes and how a lot of the tech had started kind of gotten tested out
in the dirt bike scene.
Dirt bikes, and then eventually made its way as it got lighter to mountain bikes.
Yeah, man, I've seen that evolution just kind of come and go and all over the place. Because I remember one of my favorite bikes was a Trek. I'm going to mess this up, 9700 or something like that. It was a carbon fiber front end with a single beam that went off the back as the suspension. So single pivot, one single beam. There was no triangle or anything off the back.
Yeah, okay.
Very motorcycle-like. And one of them, in fact, used these rubber elastomer donuts. And it was the worst riding bike you could possibly get on. But I just loved that bike. It was so cool looking. And you know, it was when I was younger, and I'd look at that thing and go, oh, my, it's so cool. And then Trek made one called the Y bike. You guys have heard of the Y bike?
We've all seen the Y bike. Yeah.
Also, well, I had multiple versions. I made a Y bike into a downhill bike once, which was dumb. You should never do that. Carbon fiber, like, it shouldn't even be used as a bike. And I was using it as a downhill bike. So I see the suspension designs change. AMP research, Mert Lowell is one of the icons of suspension design. And so he came up with the FSR, you know, so Specialized bought it. And so that's
an FSR is effectively just a horse link. Is that right?
So yeah, a horse link liker. Sorry, not Mert Lowell, a horse link liker. I'm going to butcher these names because I can't pronounce them properly. Yeah. But he's who I meant. And his FSR link, his Horst link, is just famous. So
Horst link, like, so forever Specialized had the patent, and I think they don't anymore, which is why
it ran out.
Which is why all these bikes have Horst link, and your Stumpy and the Gorilla Gravity I just bought all have Horst link suspension.
Yeah. Okay. So we sell Rocky Mountain, and they have it. They've had it for a long time, but there was a point when they didn't, because they would have had to pay. I was a big Titus fan.
Yeah, Titus, Chris Kokalis, before he owned Pivot, he had Titus.
Oh, yeah, I still got a couple.
Lacey had a Titus bike that she rode.
Yeah, now Titus, because they bought into that design before Specialized owned it, they got special rights.
That's right.
And they were able to use it when others didn't. They just had to make sure there was a sticker on there. I remember selling Titus, and we would see this little Specialized FSR sticker on the on the linkage. So that people would know. So some of those designs came from motorcycles. And some of them can't be used like motorcycles. I mean, if you look at a lot of motorcycle designs, they do have that single swing arm. They sometimes have a single pivot, and then they'll use a linkage design to change the progressive nature of how they articulate the rear shock. And that doesn't work that well on mountain bikes, because on a motorcycle, when you're lifting your legs up and down, which can be 50 pounds a piece, you know, it's not really affecting it. You're not doing that. And on a bike, you're lifting these big, heavy things, you know, like, I mean, honestly, your legs are probably 50 pounds a piece. And as you're thrashing them around, it's articulating the bike.
For the record, mine are like 100 pounds a piece.
Yeah, I was being generous. But,
oh, God.
I'm sure mine are right there with you. But you know, that's one of the biggest influences that we have on the bike. It's the terrain hitting the suspension, and then it's us hitting the suspension from a different direction. And that's been the hardest part for designers that I've seen, trying to figure out how to do that, and then throw in the patents. So if you do a study, I can't remember, I can't cite it, so I'm going to be totally making this up as far as some people are concerned. But there was a study about rear wheel path, and I think Titus actually got me the study, and so it was probably biased. But basically, they looked at motorcycles and bicycles, and they found that the more vertical the wheel path, as the wheel moves through its travel, if it can go straight up and down, it's the most efficient, because you can have a wheel path go backwards. And I don't know if people know what I mean by that. That means the rear axle, as it articulates, instead of going straight up, it moves backwards. Yeah. And so,
is there a word that we can use other than articulate?
Yeah.
We try to use less than, we try to use 3 syllable or less words here. Articulate.
That's a long word. I don't know.
To move?
Move. Yeah.
There you go. One syllable.
So okay.
Move. Perfect.
So so as the rear suspension moves upwards.
Perfect. See, look at that.
There you go.
So simple. We just demystify all of suspension.
The wheel will go in a certain direction.
Right.
So there's a couple designs on the market that have made this kind of S curve, so it doesn't actually follow a straight line. A single pivot bike will move in an arc.
Okay.
And if you move the pivot down at the axle, the arc will immediately start going forward. Right? Imagine a circle.
Yeah.
And then if you move the pivot up, then it's going to start going backwards until it reaches that horizontal point, and then
it goes over forward.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And so those designs have been what people have been using to figure out the wheel path, the horse link, and is one of the most efficient designs. So
Right.
it moves the rear wheel in one way. And that's the thing is you can throw on constraints to all of these. So,
Yeah.
but it was under patent, right? Specialized bought it. And so then other companies had to figure out how do we get an efficient wheel path that doesn't hang up on rocks, that doesn't abruptly hit rocks,
Right.
and that doesn't get articulated. Sorry, doesn't start moving.
Backwards.
Well, it doesn't start moving when the rider is on top of it.
Bring that mic down
Yeah.
just a little bit.
So it loses energy. It won't lose as much energy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They call it pedal induced bobbing. And
Pedal
so
bob.
basically, yeah, exactly. And so then you got Dave Weigel came out with a design, the
DW Link.
You've got
Oh, that's DW.
oh yeah,
Dave Weigel, yeah.
Dave Weigel,
Yes, I didn't know what this stood for.
yeah.
Okay.
He's brilliant.
And they're on those pivots out, or those
Yeah.
the Ripmo and the Ridley.
the Ibis.
Ibis.
Yeah,
Ibis uses
a lot of
DW
people
Link.
use that. There's a VPP bike that came
Yeah,
out a
so
long
it's Santa
time
Cruz.
ago. Yeah, they partnered with Intense.
Intense had VPP as well, yep.
And they bought the rights to this patent that a company called Outland came out with.
Yep.
And the Outland VPP was a goofy looking bike. So cool. I would love to have one. Just cool looking bike. But the idea was so cool and revolutionary. It created this wheel path using these two links. I always called those bikes a tucked 4-bar because basically it was a 4-bar trying to create a upward movement straight, but then they tucked it under the rider and just had a solid triangle out the back.
Right.
And that design is most of those designs I think were trying to get around patents, honestly. But that creates a lot of ingenuity by these designers, and figuring out how to do something without stepping on patents or having to pay specialized. Yeah. And so, but then you get into linkages, and you get into when Pro Pedal came out, which is, I don't know if you guys know what Pro Pedal is.
Yeah, on the Fox
rear shocks.
yeah.
They created a valve that kind of made it sticky, and so it didn't bounce around as much, and so you could put Pro Pedal on these shocks, and they would calm the backs.
Yeah,
of the bikes
make up
down.
for a bad suspension design in the back.
Exactly, yeah.
The shock would actually kind of like almost lockout's not the right word, but
It's sticky.
Sticky.
Sticky's the best word I've come up with. Like it
I like
just,
it. Sticky's less than 3 syllables.
It moves, but it doesn't move for every little motion that you do. And so it's kind of nice. So when you ask about innovation and all these innovations, there's so much. That's so much to unpack in that.
Yeah, tons.
But when it comes to suspension, the rear of the bike has just evolved like amazing. Like it's so different than it used to be.
And it's like they figured it out.
Not really. It's
No?
still changing. Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. Where's it going?
I have no idea. I'm waiting for hover bikes because I think that's coming soon, and then I'll be out of business
With no
because
wheels?
there's no suspension. but
There still will be suspension. It'll just be air pressure. You'll be dialing in the air pressure.
Yeah, I'll
right?
be tuning. Let's valve your air shocks.
there you
So, but yeah, the suspension design keeps changing every year. But a lot of the changes from year to year are small, little incremental. If you look at, so again, I sell Rocky. I like Rocky. I'm a Kool-Aid drinker. I'm definitely drank the Kool-Aid on Rocky. Love Pivot.
Yep.
Both those brands we carry, and they're amazing bikes.
I just rode a Rocky with Terra for Homegrown. They did their whole fleet as Rocky Mountain. Then I think it was an Altitude. What's like the 160?
So Instinct and then Altitude. So Instinct is
what is an Altitude? It's like
170.
Okay, I think that's what I had.
Was it?
Was an
Okay.
Altitude? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great bike, and it held up to the Girth Brooks over here.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
it did all right.
that's my main bike, which is awesome.
Careful of the ribs.
Yeah. So when you ride some of these bikes, if the front linkage, I'm trying to think what it's called, the rocker arm basically is what we tend to call it. There's lots of names for these things, but basically the thing that moves to articulate the shock, to compress the shock.
Compress the shock. See,
compress.
Compress we can do. There's 2 syllables.
Yeah. So when you move the pivots on these things just a little bit, they really affect it. And so there's one company that basically makes that rocker arm have 2 pivots that are horizontal. And if you can imagine, that's flat. Okay. Now what happens is when you push on the bike, the load from the seat actually affects it more. Then if you rotate that up and have it vertical, now the load from the seat can't articulate it.
Move it.
Sorry, move it. So when you take these suspension designs and change them just a little bit, you change the characteristics a ton. And so there are bikes that have effectively the same design, but totally ride different. And one of these companies relied on a suspension that automatically locked out all the time in order to overcome that.
Yeah.
Another company never used that and was called one of the most pedal efficient bikes on the market.
That's interesting.
And they were effectively using the same patented design, but their
the way they had it set up, the way they had the rocker set up was oriented. Yeah. That's too many.
I know.
It was angled.
Yeah,
angled. Yep. So back in the day, before I got back into riding, I tried everything, man. I tried the VPP. I tried whatever, like I had a Trek fuel, whatever they were using back then.
Yeah, that's called ABP.
ABP. Yeah. This was before ABP though, because that's that active braking thing, right? Yep. That's what the ABP is.
Yeah, it's the pivot around the axle.
Okay,
and that's a Dave Weigel design too. Although I'll get in trouble for saying that because he lost the lawsuit because he sued Trek. And so technically it's a Trek design.
Okay. So Trek design that was disputed and they held up and fought the battle and won.
Yep. Yeah.
I ended up at Ellsworth.
Oh, wow. So that's
ICT.
Yep. Yeah.
And that was at my weight. It was the only back then. It was the only suspension design I could get that I didn't feel like I was just bobbing the whole time.
Now, some of the Ellsworth had what we call an FSR link, which is the lower rear link at the derailleur. So if it's an FSR link, I think I could be spewing out the wrong stuff, but I think the understanding is it's got to be low and forward of it's got to be on the chainstay, and it's got to be low and forward of the axle.
Right.
And so that creates a different link than let's say a Kona, where the Konas will have the pivot on the seat stay above the axle.
Yep.
And those are two different things. And that's very important because it changes where the axle is moving. And so imagine a Kona, is a good example.
Yep.
And if you've got the axle mounted, clamped to the chainstay, and then you follow the chainstay over and it runs to the pivot of the bike that's on, that's a single pivot. They don't look like it because they've got a walking bar linkage that moves the suspension.
Look at that. But we can train him.
Yeah, I know. But that's a single pivot. So that rear wheel path is going to move in an arc.
Right.
And so depending on how high the pivot is, it's going to either move backwards or forwards. And that's going to affect how it impacts rocks. And that's going to be affected by a lot of things. The walking bar, which is the rest of the linkage just to get to the shock so that you can push on the shock, can calm it down. And so that's how Kona's used their design for so long.
Interesting.
And Rocky did that for a long time while there was a patent.
Right.
And then as soon as the patent came out, they switched because once you move that pivot down and put that in front of the axle, the rear axle is no longer attached to that front pivot. And so now it can move kind of like an A-arm on a car.
Yeah.
And that creates that more vertical wheel path.
So I am pretty sure we have completely confused half of our listeners.
Yeah. I can go super
we can
deep.
go deep. So let's go back and talk about some practical stuff.
Yeah.
What is there a suspension design that you would recommend our listeners stay away from?
Oh man. That would be insulting. I wouldn't want to insult.
Okay, so let me do something. Let me ask the question differently.
So I'll give you an example.
What are your top 3 favorites? How about that?
Oh well, whatever we carry. Honestly,
no. I mean, but not the brands, but what are the suspension designs?
Well, so I like the Horselink. I love the DW. So they're both. The Horselink is tricky because you can do it wrong. So that's the tricky part. So it's not like I like every Horselink.
How's an example of it being done wrong? What would be the instantiation of it being done wrong without naming any brands or anything like that?
Well, so remember that rocker link? If it's horizontal, the bike will be too active.
Okay.
And if it's vertical, it will calm the bike down. And so those are something that I've just seen in practice and just how we move the suspension. You could put the main pivot way too high. There's a lot of factors that make those work well, but that is the one factor between two companies that I know of that both do that, where one is clearly different than the other and the way they ride. And it's amazing when I sell a bike, to somebody that has the horizontal, and then I sell them what they think is the same bike, but it's got a vertical, and I get the feedback when they go ride it. It's mind blowing how amazed they are,
and how much better the vertical.
Yeah, the pedal efficiency is the biggest benefit to that.
Right. So this is a vertically oriented. That's too big of a word?
Yeah.
Vertically
positioned. Okay.
Oriented,
Yeah. Position. Yep.
Vertically oriented rocker arm on a horse link is a more efficient
pedaling
design.
It helps counteract. And you can screw this all up by like if you were to just design a bike, and just put pivots wherever, it will, I mean, you may come out with something good, but chances are it's not going to work very well. These guys are moving these pivots less than a centimeter, like a fraction, of a centimeter.
Makes a big deal.
Makes a big difference.
And it really changes. And that's that evolution each year that you see. They're constantly refining it.
So I can go out and educate myself and our listeners too, and not endorsing any specific brands. But is there an example of a bike right now you can think of that's got that vertically oriented?
The Rockies.
All the Rockies have. That's so the 2023 current lineup of the Rocky Mountain, go look at the way they've used the horse link design, and that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that bike does amazing. Like that 170, I have altitude, and it's 170. I go ride it at Star Pass or Sweetwater.
Feels great.
These are really flat trails. They're rocky.
Yeah.
And it just pedals like crazy, and I put people on those bikes and they can't get over how well they do.
Also, kudos to Rocky Mountain for stealing bikes.com.
Yes. No, they didn't even steal it. So that's how old that company is.
They've been around for a long time.
80s.
Oh, wow.
80s. They've been doing, it's cool. I don't know if they do it anymore. You could go on their web and go to their archive and look at their old catalogs of the 80s bikes.
Yeah,
it was so cool. Yeah. I geeked out. I got to say, I've drank the Kool-Aid pretty hard on Rocky, and I really like them. I try and own at least one bike of every brand we sell so that I can tell people for real.
Yeah, like I sell this and I sell it and I own it and I ride it. And I paid money for it.
I ride this. I didn't read a magazine or some marketing sheet to tell you how nice it is. I actually ride this, and I ride it on this terrain that we're in. So. And so I have pivots. I don't have a Scott yet. We just started carrying Scott, and I'm excited about getting one of those. So
they're an innovative company. I listened to some podcasts recently with those guys, and they're kind of like, they got some new stuff coming out in some of their new designs, and it's kind of like they go big.
Yes.
Like with their stuff, they're just like, we're going balls out.
They do.
And it definitely drives the industry forward. It's pretty interesting to see what they do.
Yeah. I want to say the company they purchased, and again, I can get this stuff wrong. I don't have anything in front checking my facts. So this could be
don't worry. Someone in the comments will let us know where we screwed this up, but they did just buy a company.
I think it's Bold.
Keep going.
I can't remember. It starts with a B, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but that's the company.
We'll put this. We'll fix it in the show notes. So
that's the company that has this hidden shock that's inside the frame, and so that's what they're doing now. And I'm kind of excited. I saw them at Sedona Bike Fest. And they're cool. Now, from a suspension standpoint, I'm really annoyed. I got to
get inside to fix it.
They have to put a little window in there so you can see, your sag. They have a sag meter on the outside of the bike so that you can kind of get your sag. They've had to overcome some challenges of putting it inside.
Yeah.
I don't know if that design was really to keep dirt out, or what their motivation.
It's clean looking.
I think so. They do say that by encapsulating it in the bike that they can create a thinner carbon around it and create a lighter frame, which I believe their bikes. They're
big on light. Their bikes are super light.
We brought them in primarily for road, but I'm excited about the mountain bikes because, like I said, I like to count grams. I like to build light bikes.
Yep.
Their bikes are some of the lightest that we can do.
Super light.
Yeah.
And they have a good spectrum of price too. I mean, our buddy Easy was looking at them, and they have like reasonably priced low end, and you can go all the way up to
you can get crazy
expensive as you want, right?
Yep. Yeah.
But you can spend $3-4 grand and get a decent Scott bike.
Yep.
I mean, really, it's light.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yeah. And I'm excited about their suspension design. They do have a suspension design that's not pure as far as like somebody like me. I don't look at it. It's not this standalone design. For me, a suspension design that really tickles my fancy is one that you could throw any rear shock on and it works. As soon as the shock has to make or break the bike, it takes a little away from me, And so if you have a design that's, I'll give you an example. Back when Santa Cruz had single pivots, they would, Super Light was their their cross country.
I remember the super
right?
light. Yeah.
And they would have single pivot, high pivot,
Yep.
and you had to rock your air pressure like rock hard. I mean, you really just had that suspension. If you hit something hard enough to move it,
It would move.
would
Otherwise,
move.
you just pump it up
Otherwise-
to where it's not even a shock at that point. Yep.
because otherwise it would just be bobbing like crazy
Yes.
when you rode it. And then when Pro Pedal came out, that was one of the bikes that it revolutionized. I think, honestly, I wouldn't doubt that Fox kind of made it for them for that type of bike.
Yeah.
But that design is not good. Not good at all.
It's not made anymore.
No, and
Which is
Yeah.
the test of the reason that it's not good.
it's not. You couldn't put any shock on there and have that bike work.
Yeah.
And so, but you can take some designs and you can put any. So the Titus, back when I sold Titus,
Yeah.
I was really impressed. You could put just about any shock on that thing and it would work great. Whereas some bikes you just couldn't. So
Right.
and
So going back to what you had said before, so Pink Bike, it says Scott acquires majority share in Bold Cycles.
yay, so
There
I
you
was
go.
right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you're right
Yeah.
about
Listen
that.
to that. He's the guru. Of course,
Yeah,
he's
he
right.
is a guru.
Something special.
I didn't realize the connection. I guess I should have connected the dots, but between the linkages and the design, the geometry, and the suspension. I always think, your suspension, but there's so much more that it's all connected to.
In the shock, right? Like the design of the suspension design and then the shock itself.
the shock itself,
all works
thank you,
together.
to
All
clarify.
works together.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a new thing called metric. I don't know, you guys have heard this term maybe? So this is big for the bike industry because it's
Metric, like metric versus standard.
Yeah, it's harder than that. So in the past, rear suspensions had to be designed, and sometimes the bike manufacturer would design it, and then they'd have to elongate a current shock to make it fit the bike that was designed. And then the shock didn't really have the right leverage ratios or oil volumes in the shock to really perform as good as it could. And so you'd have a company like Fox who's designing a shock, and then a company, let's say Specialized would
Right.
come to them and say, okay,
You're going to spec in that.
we're gonna make this bike now. Make us this shock, and they make so many bikes. They can literally tell Fox, make this special shock for us.
Yeah.
And then Fox has to design it to fit the bike.
Yep.
And they have to do all these compromises to their design. And so the idea was floated. I think RockShox actually developed the metric idea, again, I'm off the hip explaining this stuff. But basically the idea is to make a standard.
Standardization.
Yep. That allows that the shock that's being built for that size is actually not just some weird combination of longer damper bodies or just longer inner shaft or things like that, so that the calculations on how much oil is being moved, how much oil volume, how much air volume is all pretty consistent, so the shocks work the best.
So at this point, we start to reduce the number of shocks that have to be made, the SKUs for the number of shocks. We have more standardization in the shocks, and then we can customize everything that goes around the shock, but everyone's working with the same kind of.
Yeah, that's the concept.
That's
the
the concept.
I think RockShox, again, I think they're the ones that tried to push this forward. And they're
Did it work?
pushing it. It's working. Yeah. So most everything's metric now.
So so when I bought so I told you I had the Vitus Mythique 29 that I'd bought from a British company.
Yep.
And so when I replaced that shock, which was a RockShox, they said, hey, they gave me metric. I think it was like 200 by something metric.
200 by 57.
Yeah. Exactly what it was. 200 by 57. And then when I called Fox and I was like, I want to put a DPS on this. And they said, okay, that's actually 7.85 times, and converted it to American standard.
And I have to do that all the time. A lot of times they can be similar or identical.
Yeah.
So like Rockies do an 8.5 by 2.5, but that's also a 216, I think, maybe a 230. I can't remember. And so I have to convert them all the time.
Right.
And it's not a metric system thing. It's not meant to be metric versus standard. What it is a new style of
standardizing the dimensions
of
the shock itself.
And that most of that concept comes from trying to not have a bike designed that takes some goofy size that doesn't really work well, like it's way too long, or it's, and then the shock company is like, okay, well, I've got this one, but you need something longer. So I'm going to take the damper off of this one and stick it on this one. And we're just not going to use this much travel on the shaft.
Yeah. Don't kid yourself, man. This is about specializing, increasing their profit margins by having less SKUs and being able to, from supply, from quantities of scale, being able to buy more of the same exact shock and fit it on 27 different models versus custom shocks for each one.
Yeah. And we're in the bike industry, we're constantly wishing there was more standards.
I'm sure.
But simultaneously pissed off every time a new one comes out.
Yes, exactly. We want the standards, but then they change them, and we never know if it's really a good thing or not. Sometimes it's really a good thing, and sometimes it's awful.
I think the universal derailleur hanger is a good standard. For the record.
So if you guys want a spoiler, there's something coming out that SRAM's coming out with.
No,
it's a secret. I don't think it's out. We'll have one of the first ones in town, so you'll see it on our Facebook page and our Instagram.
Right on.
It's a new system that SRAM's developed, and the universal derailleur hanger is a big deal with it.
Cool.
And I got to tell you, I'm excited about it. I like SRAM. I don't really pick favorites. Shimano's amazing. They're both great. But I have like SRAM. I feel like they've been ahead for a while.
They are.
As far as like, I see like pole positions change.
Like Axis, right, is like way better than...
Well, Eagle. They came out with Eagle first. They had one by first. They did a lot of stuff first. And Shimano's been playing catch up. And Shimano's makes amazing product. And
they do.
Shimano's old school. They're like, let's wait until it's right and then bring it out.
Yeah, so SRAM can screw up, and then we'll figure it out once it's done.
And so the people that are like, well, I want it done right the first time, they love Shimano. Yeah. And then people that are like, well, I want it now, they like SRAM.
This is why I buy Shimano stuff.
And it's pretty cool. But that universal derailleur hanger is
big deal.
Stoked, and it's going to be integral in how this stuff works. So it's really cool. So,
all right. So can we? You look like you're poised to ask a question.
Yeah,
but I don't want to dominate.
Well, and I'll talk about everything and ramble.
Okay. So like, I just want to. Okay. I am notoriously bad at getting my suspension serviced.
Yep.
And I think that's really stupid. Could you educate our listeners on what they should be doing for just as broadly as possible for maintenance with their shock and their forks on their mountain bikes? Is that one?
That was my question.
Yeah.
Okay. The PMIs, the timings, when to get serviced, etc.
Yeah. So it's most people, it's the conversations in the shop always crack me up. Like, when was this last service? Well, I've had it for 5 years and I've never had a service. And that's very common. Sure. Back in the day, again, when I started with suspension, we pulled the elastomers out and we cleaned the fork. And we stuck the elastomers in with new grease. That was like all we did for the longest time.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot going on. Nowadays, the suspension is super sensitive, like really sensitive. And that system really needs a lot more maintenance than it used to. And I hate to admit it, because I want the suspension to not have to be serviced so often.
Right.
Most companies focus around 100 hours on a fork. And we kind of have a policy of 100 hours for a fork and 100 hours for the rear shock, but there's two different types of services you do to the rear shock. And so I'll tell you about those. So the 100 hours is kind of, the reason they use hours and not miles or time is because it's really just the time on the...
you're actually like using the piece of equipment, right?
Exactly, yeah. If you said every year, I'll give you an example. I sold a pro rider a brand new Fox fork.
Yep.
And he would ride from his house in Midtown. He would ride the thing locked out on the pavement, get to Star Pass, do 2 laps at Star Pass, and then ride it back home every single day. And
so you're talking about 70 miles or something like that.
And this is way back. This is over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When the forks started to get these cartridges. They were called CTD. And they were starting to use this cartridge instead of having open bath. And open bath is an old design. Anyway, this guy's riding this bike, and he even came into the shop and said, "Hey, I see a little oil." And his fork was like 2 months old. And I'm like, well, it can't be worn out. It's 2 months old. You'll be fine. It's just a little extra squishing out. And this is early on when I didn't really realize
what was going on.
Yeah. 8 months, that fork was so worn out, it had to be replaced. 8 months. And
this is how the guru became the guru, right? I learned those lessons, and then you don't make that mistake again, right?
I'll tell you, that's if I have anything that I want to brag about, it's that when something does burn me, I learn real well.
Yeah. You're great because of all the mistakes you've made over the last 2 decades.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. And I learned real well. And I learned right then and there, do not say that you should get your suspension serviced every year, because that guy needed it a lot sooner.
So 50 hours or 100 hours, you said?
Yeah. So I have quick math for that. Most people ride 2-hour ride, right? If you go to Vortex, you do hour to 2 hour.
Yeah. Hour.
So if I go to 50 year, it's usually 2 hours. If I do Milagrosa, Bug Springs, usually 2 hours. So I think about if I do that once a week, that's 52 weeks. So that's 104 hours.
Yeah.
And so if you're riding one of those rides a week, then you need to get your suspension once a year.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're doing that 3 times a week, you need to do it more, and not necessarily 3 times as much. But you definitely don't want to be waiting a year when you're putting in 300 hours a year.
So I got a business idea for you that I'm going to share with you off air.
Okay. All right.
We're not going to talk about this on air. I got a great idea.
If it's an app, they exist.
Yeah. Nope. We'll talk off air.
All right. So 100 hours on the fork. And the forks nowadays, the major brands, they all use a cartridge. Yep. And so this cartridge is self-contained, and it has its own oil. And that's where the valves are. So when we talk about valving and basic workings of a fork, is they shove the oil through little orifices, whether it's a piston or it's
orifice is just a hole.
Yeah, just
little
a hole.
Holes.
Yep, seriously.
Oh god.
Yeah. Yep. I don't want to get dirty, so we won't talk about holes too much.
But that's what an orifice is, right? Just a hole.
It is. Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Orifices, things go in them, things come out of them. Yep. That's how it works. So anyway, pushing oil through these things is really all those valves do, and they slow the oil down.
Yep.
And that creates the damping that you get. So if you close the hole, less oil can move, and it's slower.
Yeah.
And if you open the hole, more oil can move, and it goes faster. And so these cartridges and these forks are standalone. They've got their own oil in most of them. But when you collapse it, there's excess oil. Like when you put a bowling ball in a full bathtub, it's going to overflow because there's displacement. And so then they have, usually most of them use some sort of way to expand under that pressure. And so they have bladders in most of them, a rubber bladder that can expand in the fork. So, and then there's this weird phenomenon, and I don't really know what they call it, but it happens to all of them, where as this thing is cycling, there's a second chamber of oil in the fork in the lowers. You guys have heard of doing a lower service, right? And that's really common. A lot of home mechanics can do that. It's pretty simple, straightforward. There's lots of videos. But that lower service just changes what we call the bath fluid. And that's the fluid that is supposed to lubricate the stanchions. And that is what keeps the fork feeling buttery, and it keeps it from eating itself, because if you don't have that lubrication,
friction.
It's a lot of friction, and that creates heat, and that creates expansion that starts carving itself up.
Right.
So these dampers have their standalone oil. Then there's this bath fluid. And one phenomenon that happens, and this started happening when these things came out, was as this thing's cycling, the seal that keeps that oil in that cartridge is called a U-cup seal. And it's designed it's a really good design to keep oil in, because as you add pressure, it pushes harder and creates even bigger seal.
Gotcha.
So you guys, engineers, so you kind of understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So, and
we're not engineers, but we understand what you're
all
saying.
right. Yeah. So the problem with that U-cup is it only works in one direction. So when oil tries to hit it from the other direction, it can push by it. And so what happens on these forks is these cartridges, as they're cycling, there's this vacuuming and suction of the bath fluid into the damper.
Right.
And so that's one of the major things that happens. And 2 things happens with that. You're getting dirty oil. There's a different viscosity, so you're changing the way that the oil's...
Viscosity is just like the thickness of the oil?
Yeah, and that's really important. If you change it too much, the fork acts different.
Yep.
And one of the ways that you can custom tune a fork is by changing that, but it affects both the rebound and compression.
Okay.
So most people, when they're tuning, they want to change just one or the other. So changing the oil isn't as popular as it used to be. Back in the day, man, that's all we did. We just changed the oil
Right.
to a different thickness to make it act different.
Right.
Nowadays, it's a little harder because it's affecting other parts too.
Okay.
So anyway, this vacuuming of this oil into the cartridge can get way more oil into the cartridge than should be in there. The bladder will start to expand to take up that when you hit a compression and compress that fork.
Right.
But if it gets too much, it can burst.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that rubber bladder can burst.
So do you see that a lot? Do you see a lot of
I don't
burst bladder?
see it as much. I got to say that I've spent 20 plus years educating people on servicing their stuff. I see it more than I think I should,
Right.
but it's not too bad. But it can happen. And worse, you're sucking in dirty oil into these things. And so that dirty oil is now moving through these very small
And chewing them up, gummy them up.
damaging.
Yeah.
yeah, and acting like sandpaper. And it's
Right.
basically it's mixed with the oil, and it's starting to basically cause abrasions in the fork, which is just not good for it. And then you get scarring, you get all kinds of stuff. And so that is, if I can scare anyone into doing the service, it's that stuff that you can't see that is going on, and that's why the 100 hours is important.
Yeah. So when you open up the Shox, you see the damage that's been done.
Yep.
Where it should have been in a year ago, and now you may have to replace the entire shock.
It depends. Depends on the cartridge. Could be just a shaft. It's a lot of stuff.
Okay,
And
parts.
And when you talk to Fox or RockShox, they'll also remind you that your performance is degraded. The oil gets thinner, and it doesn't work as well. And so they're very I don't know. Altruistic? I don't know. That's not the right word. But they're basically purists. Yeah. Like, oh, you got to change it so that you don't get any break in performance. Most people can't tell the difference. Like they're just banging around on Fantasy Island. It's not a big deal. But honestly, I'm more worried about the fork eating itself and degrading to where it's an expensive repair. I hate making that phone call. That phone call, I quote somebody, okay, it's going to be $120 to do your fork.
Yep.
That includes
Is that a normal service?
That's on a Fox.
Fox, $120. Yeah.
That's normal. So yeah,
Great.
Great.
I got one to bring in. Yeah.
It's pretty simple. I've made it really simple, and it includes everything unless it's broken or scarred or something.
Yep.
But when I have to make that phone call, that one, I have to order a part that I don't normally stock, or two, you have to buy a whole damper, which can be $300-$400 depending on the brand.
Yep.
That is uncomfortable, and I hate that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, remember when I told you every 100 hours and you brought it in after 5,000 miles?
And no matter what, I just want to get them riding again.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to tell people what's my goal, number one, it's to keep people riding. That's really what I want to do. But I'm also a little on the cheap side. I don't like buying new stuff if I don't have to. I love riding nice suspension. But man, breaking it sucks, like I want it to last, we have a customer who I always bring up. He's a great guy. He is religious about getting his suspension done. He's got over 10 years on his fork, and it looks brand new on the inside.
Because every 100 hours you've been...
Every 100 hours. I didn't even do it. He does it himself. He's just such a great guy. Right. I don't know if he has an app or a calendar or what reminds him, but he's like clockwork, and his fork looks like it, and his Fox has been over 10 years and he's still rock. I try and talk him into a new Fox all the time. And he's like, well, is this one still good inside? And I'm like, yes, it's fine. It's perfectly good. There's nothing wrong with, and I can't talk him into it, you know? And cause he's loving it. So he's just really good with his, and then we have, like my pro racer buddy who wore his out in 8 months, and so you can really do a lot of damage and not know it. Forks will tend to show you if they're having issues, but that's not what the benchmark you want for when you service it.
It's too late.
Yeah. Well,
it's like when you're thirsty, you're in trouble. You're already dehydrated.
Yeah. I always think of it like oil changes in your car. You don't wait until the engine seizes
up.
Yeah. Before you get your oil changed.
Good point.
So.
The problem with the shock is that it degrades not just like overnight, but it takes time. And so you
get used to
the frog in the slowly boiling water type scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cause you got on my bike, just pushing down in the shock on the, on one. You said, this needs to be serviced. And I said, it's fine. It's doing awesome.
Yeah.
But you can tell. Yeah.
I definitely.
I got used to it, so.
Yeah. It's a decade old fork on that, I think. Yeah, probably.
And I see those, one of the cool things that I have is I have a boneyard of old forks. And so I see some really ancient forks, and I keep them going as best I can, and most shops just, you need a new fork.
I get a new one.
And it's funny because I could just tell the guy, hey, you just need to buy a new fork, but I kind of get a kick out of keeping stuff going.
That's why you're the guru.
Yeah.
That's why you're the guru. Go for it.
All right. So we mentioned the altitude bike, and that's what you also ride?
Yep.
Rocky Mountain.
The Rocky. Yep. And what is that bike intended for?
So it's kind of their enduro. It's
That's
all
what I thought.
mountain, like 170 bike.
Yeah, so that's a pretty big bike.
Yep.
But you said that you take that over more like trail, like Star Pass, and that.
So as somebody who owns a bike shop, I've got a lot of bikes.
Sure.
But sometimes I don't. During COVID, we ran out of bikes. Okay. It was pretty bad, and I sold a lot of my own personal bikes just because there was nothing out there.
Yeah.
And my altitude I kept. And
It's supply and demand.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, hey, I can make more money on this.
And I didn't want to let go of every bike.
Right.
So I kept the one that I knew I could ride everywhere.
And that's what you kept.
Yeah. And I love Bug Springs.
Yeah.
And I love going to Sweetwater, and Honeybee or wherever. And that bike
there's a
can
big
handle
difference between those three trails, right?
Big time.
For our global listeners.
Yeah. So
it's like, technical Rocky, almost downhill.
Yep.
To like cross country.
Yep,
and
exactly.
That's kind of the range of those trails you just named.
And that bike can ride it all. If I take a bike on a trip, that's the one that tends to go.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what I wanted our listeners to kind of hear, like from a suspension guru, like to like what bike we talk under bike or over bike, that type of discussion. Like which way would you lean or recommend?
So that bike is probably more bike than most people need.
It's over
Right. Yeah.
But I'm a downhiller. And so when I do look for a trail, so if I go to Colorado Springs or if I go to Durango or wherever I go, I'm looking for the gnarly black diamond.
So you gravitate towards the
and so I want the bike that can handle that. If I only rode cross country and I just didn't look for that stuff, it'd be a different story.
A short travel type.
So there's never a perfect bike.
Okay.
Yep. And unfortunately, I can't tell you that there's one bike that does everything.
Yeah.
Everybody's got personalities. I've sold that bike to somebody who is just like me, rides like I do, and wants what I do, and they didn't like it. For whatever reason, or they like something else, or, they didn't like the color,
So much personal preference in there.
There's so much, and it's kind of fun, when you're selling bikes. I would say that one of the best things about selling bikes is talking to the person and getting an idea of what they enjoy. And I'll use trails all the time. I'll ask them what their favorite trail is, because that'll give me a really good idea of how they're going to ride. And then I figure out, just talking to them, what they want to do on the bike and what they want. And when they're really having a hard time, it's very nice to have somebody do that, because there's so many bikes out there. You can get online and just get overwhelmed.
Oh yeah.
With the bikes. Big time. And these aren't cheap, and so you're making these thousands of dollar decision. And in most cases you can't ride them. I have a lot of people that say, I'm never going to ride it, or I'm never going to buy it unless I can ride it. And that's great. But honestly, it just doesn't happen. You can't always ride everything before you buy it.
But if you're in Arizona and you want to pivot, you can go up to
the
pivot shop in Phoenix, and for $50 rent a pivot for a day,
which is great. We send people up there all the time. But I think we've been successful, or in the shop. The shop's already hopping, which is great.
Yep.
But the people are because they knew of us at other shops. Yeah. And that's really where that came
you're
from.
Bringing your...
Yeah, they know us as people, and that's what they're coming in for. They don't care what building we're in. They're just going to where the people are.
They know he can trust you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really active in the bike community. Everybody who comes in the shop is a friend. When I go riding, I want to go with them. I don't avoid them on the trail. I want to join their rides. I want them to join my rides. Yeah. And they're people I want to hang out with. And everybody's welcome. And so when you go to a guy that is going to help you figure out what the best bike is for you, it's relaxing. The stress starts to fall away, and you can start thinking about what you want to do, and you get excited. And that's what it should be. It should be really fun to get a new bike. It should be like the best day, right? But some people stress out, and because they're making a decision that they see is maybe even a 10-year decision. Some budgets are, I'm getting this bike and it's 10 years, and I used to use that all the time and tell people, look, this bike will last you 10 years,
I'm just trying to get one that'll last more than 6 months.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing. And so then you can get addicted to just buying the bike.
Yeah,
Which is okay. And I tell people that all the time. If you're ever kind of in a slump, just get some new handlebars or grip or a new pair of pedals. Just throw something on your bike and it'll just give you a little bit. Yeah.
It's not the N+1. That's when the number of bikes.
Yes, it is. Yes. And yes. But that's what I do. Sometimes I get new tires. I need them anyway, and I get some, I'm going to try these out. I'm going to try those new Continentals.
Yeah. My latest addiction has been tools. Yeah. Like every 3 days I'm buying a new park tool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, working on stuff. It's great. A lot of shops get upset when customers work on their own stuff, and I encourage it. We have kind of a unwritten, and I shouldn't be saying this.
Maybe you shouldn't say it.
Well, I'll tell you.
There's a lot of people hear this.
I'll tell you because it's people that come into our shop we don't attract like the college kid needing a flat repaired. And it's not that we don't want them. It's not that we wouldn't help them.
Yeah.
We have everything to take care of them. But people come into the shop and they get intimidated because they're seeing $10,000 pivots and Rocky Mountains, and they're seeing a fit center where we're doing these custom fits for people and mountain bike fitting.
And the name of the shop is Guru.
Yeah, they're seeing that. But if you I hope you guys come visit when you see you see our service center and you walk in there and you see kind of what you're going for on this 3-bench professional level that like just kind of blows your mind. And they get intimidated, and they don't realize that I worked on Huffies for years. I have no problem. Using a hammer and vice grips is fun, Yeah,
so, that's what you need on a Huffy.
But in our store, it's kind of a running thing. We don't change flats. We hardly ever change a flat.
Not because you don't want to, just doesn't happen.
Most of our customers change their own flats.
Yeah, if you live in Arizona, you basically have to know how to change a flat or you're in trouble.
They're setting up their own tubeless, things like that. Yeah. They're doing their own things, and we encourage that. In fact, we want to have more clinics where we teach people that.
Yeah.
But when your firmware needs updating or your suspension is blown, or you come in because this thing is creaking in the weirdest way,
or you strip the bottom bracket, You gotta tell Mike that story. It's the reason why my Gorilla Gravity's not in the garage right now.
And this is why we're there. This is what we want to be there for people. There's so many things you can do and have fun on your own bike, but we want to be there when you can't do it or when you don't have the time. Honestly, I pay the guys to work on my bike sometimes because I just don't have time.
I think that's a great outro for us. We're a little over what we normally are, which is it's totally good, man. Is there any final thoughts? We'll make sure that in the show notes, all of your links are there and folks know how to get a hold of you.
Mm-hmm. That'd be awesome. I would say keeping your suspension working properly will make it last longer. It gets expensive if you ignore it. It's a good investment. If you did it just once a year on your suspension service, it's cheaper than a new fork in 10 years. Okay. They're $1,000 now, for some of these forks. Yeah. And you spend $100, $120 a year. That's not a lot, to keep it going and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. We're going to be doing clinics, trailside clinics. We'll try and put them on Facebook so people know, and then help people understand setup. And that's probably one on your list of questions. How to set up the suspension is the second most mysterious thing for most people.
Yeah.
We go and do these clinics and help people figure that out. And we'll do it in the shop if you want to stop by. So all of that stuff to just help people figure out how the suspension's working better. Mm-hmm. And then when you come in the shop, if you need a tune-up, we do everything. Guru Bikes is a full-on bike shop.
Sweet.
Not just suspension.
Yeah. Right on. Well, brother, we've a lot of our guests have talked about you. We've heard about you for a long time. We're far east side, and like I said, you were for the longest time we're up north, and so we didn't get up there. But we're definitely coming to your shop. Awesome. I would have been there last weekend, didn't work out, but we're definitely coming to your shop. I'm going to try to talk you into taking one of my bikes with you when you leave, so we can talk about that off air.
I got the van. There's about 7 suspensions sitting in it.
There you go. Right now, it'll be 8 when you leave.
Yeah.
So look forward to this, and maybe sometime we'll see how this goes. Maybe sometime in the next 6 months or something, come back on if there's things you want to talk about. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, maybe if people want to put questions, do you have a place for
questions?
questions?
I actually thought that'd be great to do a Q&A and have our listeners submit questions, and then you can come in and pepper you with suspension questions.
And this time I swear I'm bringing my bike so I can ride Vortex.
You didn't do it?
Oh, yeah.
You didn't bring it?
No. We were building, and so I just, life happens. But
well, you're welcome to grab one of those if you want. Go out and do a lap.
I got 6 hours worth of work tonight.
Oh, Jesus. All right, let's get you out of here. Thank you so much, brother.
No problem, guys.
It's good to see
you.